Hello, Billy Rao. Paul Cundiff. I have a few of your components from your boat to do a little show and tell with you. These are zincs. These prevent corrosion. We'll just put new ones on of those. Here's your bent rudder shaft, which I guess you probably saw that earlier. It also appears to be sporting a crack right here. A couple of cracks actually, side by side. So that's not a candidate for it. We never straighten them because the reason there's too much liability. You get out at high speed and lose a rudder, then you've lost control of your boat. So we don't straighten them. We have tried to straighten bronze parts before. Actually, it was a lifting rod, and we had applied heat and everything, and it broke. So when we tried to bend it back into position, so that's the deal on the rudder. I will update the estimate with the price of a new rudder. This is we're getting the last manufactured rudder that is in captivity. So we looked for used when we saw the price of the new rudder. We looked for used, and we could not find a used one. The other thing is this is the rudder port, and the rudder comes up to the bottom of this, and there's a packing nut that goes on top that keeps water from entering around your rudder shaft in this rudder port. So what you'll notice is that this is swept. This was swept back as the rudder bent, as the rudder and the shaft bent. This was swept back and bent also, but I believe it's reusable without any issue. The spacer block that is tapered, we'll have to replace that. But we'll be able to use your rudder port. The coupling. This is the coupling on your port engine broke into a bunch of pieces. At least I've only seen one of the pieces, but it broke into a bunch of pieces. This is a coupling that was on the starboard side, which somebody took something they had and made a coupling that would work out of this, sometime in the past. I'm sure it wasn't Ricky. I'm sure it wasn't Ricky Lee. They drilled more additional holes and put this chamfer in the hub in order to be able to get a bolt down through there. And so this hub was really not made to connect to your prop shaft to your engines. Way more meat on the outside here than it needs, and you'll notice all the beat marks from a hammer, and you'll notice that you've got those same beat marks up here on the flange. So without bothering to chuck this in a lathe and put a dial indicator on it, I can just about guarantee you that the face of this coupling is not exactly perpendicular to the shaft, it is the beatings. The beatings cause this flange could be, for example, bent up, and that flange bent back, and if any of that's going on, it makes it impossible, not almost impossible, makes it impossible to align this coupling with the other half, which is on the transmission. So even though you only broke one coupling, we've ordered two of these couplings. What's the retail on these couplings? About $200? Yeah, about $200. So and we have two new shafts coming. One was bent up really bad. I think you had seen that one. That was bent up really bad right at the prop. And the other one was bent too much. We put a dial indicator on that one, and it was about 25 thousandths out in several places. Then we have, what we have is the next thing is a packing gland. And this was a packing gland that Chris-Craft used in the 60s, mid to late 60s, and this particular style. And on this one, it had been running misaligned, and you can see where the shaft, see that shiny spot in here? The shaft was running against this. The packing probably, the packing probably got depleted and was no longer keeping this centered on the shaft, and so the shaft wore this packing gland. Now, from the top, it looks like, well, that's no problem. That amount of wear is no problem because this is really thick. But then you look a little closer, it's not really thick. It's not this thick. That's just a shoulder. And so, we really don't have any idea how much of that was worn away, and so we're not going to put that in there. I think this is a liability. This is a liability that we don't want to deal with. I don't want to put something in your boat that's eventually going to wear the rest of the way out and leak. So this particular style is actually no longer available. And I'm going to show you a style that was used before those styles were used, and is still being used today. And those, well, maybe I am. Yeah, I'm on my show and tell board here. Well, anyway, it's going to be similar to this. It's going to go on a hose, and it's going to have a nut, and this nut, the packing is in the nut, and you can adjust the packing that way. So I don't know where my other one went to, but so we're going to go to this style. It's going to look more like this, but this is going to be a packing nut up here, and it'll have a jam nut as well, but it's going to be that style. And so we're going to get you 2 new ones of those, just so if somebody goes in to adjust one, they'll be able to adjust the other. They won't have to take a set of wrenches to adjust one. And then a great big wrench to adjust the nut. And this is a similar packing to what we're going to have. It's just going to be where it mounts to a rubber hose instead of mounting to a flange. So anyhow, I'll update the prices based on that. The strut on the bottom of your boat, we put a laser in the strut, and shot the laser. It's a section of shaft that's got a laser in it, and so we put that in the strut. We remounted the strut, and it did have a slight bend in it. But we were able to compensate for the bend, and so when we put a laser inside your strut and aimed it, it aims right up to the center of your prop shaft hole. Now you can see inside the strut, you see that's your strut bearing, and it's almost completely worn out. And so we're going to change both of your strut bearings as well. That one's in the sun, so you can really see. It's made out of rubber. It's got an outer sleeve that is bronze, and then that rubber is bonded to the bronze, and the slots are for water to go in. And the shaft ends up running on a thin film of water. And so that's called a strut bearing. And those are pretty well worn out, so we'll be replacing those. So I'm going to update the estimate. I think you're going to have some pluses and some minuses, and I don't think it's going to change a lot overall. And so anyway, we'll just watch for that. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.